So you want to be a dungeon master?
So, you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a DM?
Name some feats, okay? Feats.
So you want to be a DM?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're going to be revisiting the topic of character creation. Now, we've discussed species in episode 88. We've been discussing the character classes little by little. We talked about feats in episode 92. Now, along the way, we've mentioned how the DM can help their players use these tools to create the characters that they want to embody and play as. But how can they help dungeon masters? That's right. Whether it's world building, tone setting, plot hooking, or just being a good DM, character creation gives us a lot that we can work with. So let's jump right into it. But first, Taylor, can you think of a time, a story, where either your PC or another person's PC kind of fit? It felt like the setting, the story, the campaign, and their character were like lock and key, just like made for one another.
Yes and no. I think the most ingrained as far as like players that I've run, I did have one character who was basically like a mob boss of a sort, and the whole group was kind of that lawful gray type group where they're very much the chaotic on the side of chaotic good. And it kind of worked a lot as far as getting the story to go places and also giving them resources in basically almost every town of people that they can talk to, go to get, or for me to give them information, what have you.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say because I usually write around my players,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we're
talking about today. Right, exactly. Yeah. It's not so much that the character itself from inception was perfect, but through discussions with the player, the world becomes perfect. You mold the lock around the key rather than the other way around.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's how it turns out a lot. I was thinking about a couple of examples. I think the one that goes best to what I was thinking for the question has to do with our small world setting and campaign that we're still in the works with. But like, I think the fact that in the small world setting, all of the players are teeny tiny individuals, whether it's bugs or rodents, toys, little tiny folk. And because that is the very basis of the setting is that we're going to look at this tiny world that exists in the floorboards and the walls and, you know what I mean, right under our noses. Obviously, they fit pretty hand in hand. So like that would be one thing that I could think of. The other thing that comes to mind, I just think, and this has less to do with what I did. Maybe I helped it along a little bit in character creation. And like, I've certainly, what's the word I'm looking for? Like reinstated it. But like, when I think of our home game, I think of Fellis, the character of Fellis, played by our friend Allie. And I think the way that Fellis has embodied being a half elf in the way that I think she kind of like played into being a half elf in a somewhat traditional role in that, okay, my dad's a human, my mom's a high elf. Naturally, they're not going to be together for their entire lives because the human will naturally die much, much, much earlier than the high elf.
Right.
And so for that reason, her parents got separated. The mom is still adventuring. You guys eventually meet her later in the campaign, meet the dad a lot earlier. He's like an older man. She's looking pretty good. And so that was a really interesting dynamic and it was really fun. And I love how Allie had it inform her own characters. I don't know, what do you want to call it? Philosophy or whatever on relationships.
Right.
This idea of like, well, I'm not going to get into a relationship like my parents did during adventuring.
Right.
When I'm done adventuring, I will get into a relationship because I'm going to be going around everywhere. I'm moving, I'm doing this, I'm in danger constantly. Like I'm just not doing what my parents did. And so that kind of typical, I mean, I come from a divorced household and like I know a lot of people that like friends and colleagues and people that I've met who also have divorced parents. You kind of either fall into one of two camps of like, either you're like, that'll never happen to me. And so you're like super committed to relationships and you're like really trying to be the best partner ever. Or you kind of go in the other way and you have this sort of, what's the phrase? This sort of, you don't really believe in the institution of marriage that much. And you're kind of like,
Right.
whatever. Like, my parents couldn't do it. I'm not going to do it either. And so kind of, obviously it's just more of a spectrum, but yeah, just seeing how Allie played that character or plays currently was really fun. And I think taking something simple like my character's a half elf and expanding on it and then coming up with all of these intricate things about her character, like why her character acts the way she acts. And it all comes back to her parents, her childhood, which comes back from her species, like from the get-go. So it's just like an interesting thing. And I love that. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. But first, we already did a but first.
We
actually.
just did the but. That was
But
literally
second,
the but first. Yeah.
Have you heard of the Patreon, gang? Because the Patreon is amazing. And boy, howdy, there's all kinds of interesting stuff on there. There's stuff for free, all kinds of homebrew material out there. By the time we're recording this, we just put out Big Milk. That's right. There's a homebrew magic item called Big Milk. It makes your bones strong, gang. But we should get into the episode, Taylor.
Okay.
Let's stop horsing around. Let's get into the flippin' episode. So, I think the easiest thing before we even get into classes and species and backgrounds and backstories and all that kind of stuff, just thinking pure mechanics kind of.
Okay.
How can a DM use something like the proficient skills or proficiencies in general? How can you use that? Let's start with just like encounter building.
Sure.
You're building an encounter. You happen to know that based on your 4 players, maybe you already know that they're really good at stealth, or maybe they're not very good at stealth. Or maybe you have the player who's really, really good at intelligence-based things like history and arcana and religion or whatever. Yeah, how do you use that information to help inform your encounter building?
Well, I feel like as far as encounters go, I like to keep the skill checks that everybody's good at kind of low. So like you were saying, maybe this group is really, really good at stealth. You know, I understand that there's not going to be a whole lot of really high, like anything that I throw at them has to be like a 30 or higher to beat their stealth score. So some of it kind of gets hand waved. But also, you know, you want to give them those times to really shine as well. I don't know. So, you know, stealth encounters could be like we did a couple weeks ago of the like the assassination type of deal of trying to sneak into a place. And then that also gives you a chance to use, like, maybe it's a high dex party, but only one of them is a rogue that's actually got thieves tools proficiency. So that gives that rogue a time to shine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could use that those Arcana checks. You throw some different languages or some kind of mystic warding or something like that for the intelligence style player.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, yeah, you definitely just you want to, if you have a group that's all good, really good at something, keep those checks to a minimum. I generally use proficiencies to give players a chance to do something that they are specifically good at.
Mm-hmm. I understand
Like
what you
if you
mean.
want to boil down everything that I just
To like
kind of
highlight a
learned.
player.
Right, right. And give each, and that gives you a chance to give each player their kind of time to do their RP thing and, you know, express their character.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think it's easy to fall back on ability checks in a way that makes it feel very like almost like you're rushing through. It's easy
Right.
to kind of forget all the RP that could come along with how those ability checks manifest in the world
Hmm.
as opposed to just getting those dice rolls through. Um, but I think you're right. I think that like if we have a party, continuing to use the stealth example, if we have a
Uh-huh.
party and they're all pretty good at stealth, maybe I know that one or two of them have passed without a trace, a spell that is insane for a second level
Absolutely
spell,
bonkers.
plus 10 to everybody. That's nuts. And it changes stealth encounters for the game
Hmm.
because people are hitting 25s easily. And depending on your proficiency of your just random guards and sentries and lookouts, I got a 19 on the dice, but unless I have a +6, I'm not hitting 25. So
Right.
like so it all depends on how things go. And then you have, I think it goes back to all of the other things when it comes to like a PC who's built a certain way. When a PC has
Hmm.
a really high AC, sometimes it makes a ton of sense to play into that. Let them shine. Let them do their thing. Let them shield
Hmm.
and make your bad guys look like idiots. Every
Who's done
once in a
that?
while, everyone, damn well who I'm talking about. Every once in a while, it makes sense to go against that. Hey, you're fighting spellcasters. They're not doing a lot of attack rolls. Your AC
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter for shit.
Yeah.
Magic
Yeah.
missile, shield does still play, but eventually the spellcasters are like, hey guys, stop casting magic missile. This
Right.
one's got shield. So like you learn. But yeah, I think when I'm building encounters, I am thinking about what players are really good at. It's also like a thing of I use it a ton. It's one of the few things I like writing down for my PCs. I'm not a dungeon master who often looks at the character sheets. Maybe
Mm.
that's something I can work on in the future. Most of the time I
It's
don't
a
do that,
lot.
and
It's a lot. Yeah.
it is a lot. And it's like, so for me, what I've done at this stage is like I'll write down the character's name, their AC, their hit point max, and maybe I'll write down proficient skills. Because I already
Right.
know their class and stuff. So like I know the rogue is good at sneak attack
Yeah.
and blah
Yeah.
blah
Yeah.
blah. But like, okay, this rogue didn't put proficiency in stealth, let's say, but pretend.
Yeah.
But they put it in sleight of hand, they put it in thieves tools, they put it in deception and acrobatics. Okay, I write those down. That way, if something were to come up and the players hit a brick wall and they're not literally but figuratively
Yeah.
they hit a brick wall, uh and you can tell that the players are kind of like, I don't really know what to do. As the DM, I look at my little cheat sheet, I go, you know your character's really good at acrobatics, have you thought about maybe da da da? And you can give little suggestions
Yeah.
that are tailored to each one. But also when you're building that encounter, you can be like, oh, you know what, let me put a little acrobatic thing in here so that the acrobatic player can use their shit.
Mm.
Hopefully they'll pick up on that and they'll ask to use acrobatics or
Right.
describe a thing that would uh, result in me saying, go ahead and
Make
make an
enough.
acrobatics check or
Right. Right.
something,
Right.
which is what
Right.
I prefer. But yeah, I think all of those things when it comes to what skills you're proficient in, and that's just
Hmm.
skills. We haven't even gotten
Right.
to other proficiencies. For example, hey, if you're running a pre-written module and all of the like loot and magic items they find are a specific type of weapon, like martial weapons, but let's just say for some reason you have a lot of spellcasters, so they're not using a ton of martial weapons.
Right.
Change it to simple weapons. Instead of a
Yeah.
great sword of blasting, it's a short sword of blasting, which is still a martial weapon. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
club of blasting, whatever. So there's
Right.
like ways to change things. Like I've done that before when you get like certain pieces of magical armor in the
Mhm.
Dungeon Master's Guide, it'll say this is plate mail. And then you
Right.
give it to the party, and it's like, yeah, they can sell it, but a little lackluster. It's always a little bit
Right.
anticlimactic when you're like, hey, we get this cool armor. Oh, it's plate? Can anyone? No?
No.
All
Right.
right. We'll sell it. Or we'll put it in our dojo. Or whatever, you know?
That was a
Um,
symbol. Okay. That was a symbol. That was not just because I wanted to have the fancy armor.
no, I know. In theory, you could have worn the armor. You chose not to. That was the funny part.
I couldn't
Maybe
have.
not at that time.
I still don't. Now, as of the last session, when I've attuned the Iron Stone of Strength, I would be able to wear full plate.
Oh, that's why you couldn't. It was the
The
strength
only
requirement. I
the
forgot.
only reason I couldn't is because I wasn't strong enough to wear a plate. The only reason I've got plate now is because it's mithril and it ignores this weight requirement.
Exactly. Yeah, got that out of the wizard before they left.
Uh-huh.
Smart. But yeah, even like going past just skills, languages is a really big one.
Hmm.
Like, do you have a
Yeah.
party member who's proficient in Thieves' Cant? No. Don't put huge plot points behind Thieves'
Uh,
Cant
oh, it's
unless you're
Draconic
going to teach them
Cal
Thieves' Cant.
or
You
right,
know? Like
right,
I
or
love teaching people languages in D&D. I think it's an easy thing to do. I do a series of intelligence-based checks where it's just like during your downtime, make an intelligence check. Just D20 plus your intelligence modifier. Got to hit it. I don't know. I'll make up a number in my head. Usually it's
Mhm.
around a 15, but like whatever. And if you do it 3 times, boom, now you know Thieves Can't. No big deal, you
Yeah.
know? And it's a lot of fun, makes a lot of sense. Then you can use Thieves Can't. Now you have a player in the group who has Thieves Can't. You can draw on that player's knowledge for that same thing. Is same
Yeah.
if you have a player in the group who knows like a rare language, play on that. Have a
Hmm.
character only speak or a monster or whatever, only speak that language. And it gives them an opportunity to shine. Now they're the middleman for communication purposes,
Yeah.
gives them a little moment, gives them some power. And so I think
Hmm.
that's really a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
a lot of classes come with weird languages and stuff too. Like sorcerer comes with primordial, which is
oh,
interesting. It's the language of the elementals.
right, right,
So like
right.
yeah, and so there's that. There's a few of them that I've gotten like Cal speaks like celestial, abyssal, and
Mm,
draconic.
yeah,
On top of, like it's just kind of part of the build.
yeah.
So those
And
exotic languages are fun though.
it is really fun, and it makes a lot of sense. I love using languages in a way that like players can build upon. Because like sometimes in the early game, it's like, okay, no one knows Draconic, let's say,
Hmm.
but the alphabet is kind of similar to some other alphabets, and so like maybe there's a couple words you might know because of your backstory, and so it's like you can throw people a bone, kind of
Right.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but it's really really fun. I think languages is a big one, skills an easy one. There's also we already went over weapons and armor and just using the
Hmm.
proficiencies of those. Saving throws would be another kind of similar to skills where it's like, hey, you're if the party's taking a beating, maybe don't throw an intelligence save their way, unless it's the wizard, like
Right.
give him a break. If
Right.
uh if the party's not looking good, maybe a charisma save isn't the move right now, unless it's the warlock or something. You
Mhm.
can kind of do that. I've done that before in the middle of pitched combat where it's like, I know this is a monk. I know they
Right.
have evasion. I know they have a high dex score. I know they're going to crush this dex save. I'm going to
Uh,
ask for it nonetheless because I want them to be a badass. I want them to
right.
use evasion and like feel cool, like they get to use it. Because if I meta game and I never give the person with evasion dex saves, what are we doing?
Right.
Like because I've fallen into that trap before where I have a lot of half elves. I got a lot of Fey ancestry at my tables. And I do fall into the trap of I don't give you guys a lot of charm effects because
Mhm.
I'm like, you guys are gonna make the save anyway.
Yeah.
Or I hit Sunny, the human in the group, all the time. And it's like, that's my own thing. That's something I could work on, because I have
Yeah.
to remind myself that while technically Cal and Fellas probably have pointed ears a little bit, maybe they can make the jump depending on how intelligent the monster is, that you would have this
Mhm.
resistance, but I don't know. So there's like so much just mechanically speaking. We haven't even gotten into like who these characters are, what they're
Right.
like, the setting itself. These are just like really
Yeah.
basic building blocks kind of things of like you can even take it a step further. And when you look at tool proficiencies, because
Mhm.
we've talked about encounter building, but there's also, it can give you a lot of inspiration for world building.
Yeah.
What languages are in your world? Because when the players are picking languages, that's a conversation you should have with them of like, hey, heads up, don't pick celestial. It'll never come up. Right? Or you can
Yeah.
go the reverse route and you can be like, okay, they picked celestial. Let me find a way to make celestial make fucking sense.
Right. Right.
um,
Here's a angel. There you go. They're speaking in celestial. Only you can understand them.
exactly. Exactly. And you can like keep building out this way of like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm building this setting small, like, just use small world as the example. So it's just set inside of a normal human house, but our characters are teeny tiny little people. Imagine The Borrowers or Secret Life of Arietti, a Studio Ghibli film I highly recommend. And so if we're thinking about tool proficiencies, we're thinking about vehicle proficiency. Hey, land vehicles, water vehicles, what do those look like in this little setting? Is it
Right.
common to have those proficiencies? Probably not, unless we're very specifically talking about like the Barbie Jeep, little teeny tiny one.
Uh-huh.
Or are we
Uh-huh.
talking about riding a dog into battle? Because that's a little different. You know what I mean? There's all different kinds
Yeah.
of things of what does it look like in this setting and how can I use the things that all the characters are going to be choosing between in their character creation, which skills are
Mhm.
they proficient in, which one, blah, blah, blah. How do they look? What
Yeah.
does it look like in this world? What does animal handling look like when bugs and rodents are like humanoid people, like sentient people? What are the animals like in this teeny tiny world, other than like the full grown cat and dog that you have to fight because they're gigantic? But
Yeah.
like, what is it? Are they fleas? Maybe not, because in our game, the fleas were people. They talked.
Mhm.
So what are animals? Like starting
Yeah.
to think about it from there, and then you
It's
can
that
keep
weird
building.
Pluto and Goofy kind of thing
Mm,
of
exactly. Exactly. Are they both dogs? Is one a cow? I don't know. I never know. I stopped trying to
I'm
know.
pretty sure Goofy's not a cow. Pluto might be.
Pluto is definitely a dog.
I know.
Pluto is definitely a dog. Goofy might be a cow.
uh
Might be
maybe.
a cow. I'm not
Might
sure.
be.
He's got buck teeth. He doesn't have, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who
Who
knows
knows?
really? All I know is another thing to think about mechanically before we even get into like specifics of species and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
Another thing is the roles that the different players have in combat, in
Yes.
and out of combat, because you can have like the face, the tank, the healer, the
Hmm.
sniper, the spellcaster, the sneaky one, the thief. You know what I mean? Like all these
Yeah.
different like roles that over the years RPGs have been attributed to,
Yeah.
like whether it's World of Warcraft or D&D, there's these different roles of like you're the tank, you're the healer, blah blah blah. And like that can help inform a lot of things of like, hey, I know that my players like in my home Sphinx City game, all of the players are way better at range than they are up close. Now that's not like a roll in the most
Right.
traditional sense, but none of them are that good up close.
Right.
We have like a ranger who just can hit things from so far away. We have a gunslinger, shoots things from far away. and we have an alchemist and a bard. So no one's really meant for close up combat, but it
Right.
comes up in every combat. And so
Yeah.
what have
How
I
could it
done?
not?
I either change the combat a little bit. I make sure to spread the wealth when it comes to damage. So because if I focus fire one player, they're gonna get fucked
Right.
because they're just not good. Because then all of their attacks are at disadvantage because the person's right up close. So it's just like
Mhm.
it doesn't go well. So I try and spread it out a little bit, but it also has given us the opportunity to augment that with either magic items or like level ups. Like, okay, when
Right.
I level up, I'm going to pick a new thing. That way I can punch, or I'm going to pick this feat that allows me to shoot spells
Shoot
up
in
close,
close
like
range,
Spell
right?
Sniper in 2024.
Mhm.
But I think all of those things are super helpful. Knowing that you have a designated healer in the group versus not having a designated healer can change how you
Mhm.
plan encounters.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, you know?
I
It
do
also
too. And
can,
I also like the opposite of that, of, where you have these people that are very good at certain things. I
mm-hmm,
like pushing those roles out of their comfort zone.
mm,
So like maybe there's an instance where the tank, for whatever reason, has to be the face of the group, where
yeah,
they have to do it. Like for whatever
mm-hmm.
reason, they have a better rapport with this specific NPC, and they have to be the face in this time. The face has to, figure out a way to sneak in because the rogue's busy doing something. It's all really
It's like
like,
a weird party split. Like
right.
5 minutes in, they're like, we split up the party in the wrong way.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
exactly. Exactly. And
That's
putting
fun.
everybody, yeah, but putting people in their non-comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
is very fun, and you get a lot of fun RP out of that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Plus, it's like a fun challenge.
Hmm.
Like if everybody wanted D&D to be super fucking easy, then it wouldn't be the same game.
Right.
Like there's meant to be a little bit of a challenge from time to time. And I think that's the important thing is assuming that you're playing either a short or a longer campaign, but a campaign nonetheless, gives you the opportunity to kind of go in and out when it comes to
Hmm.
challenging versus highlighting strengths. You can
Right.
exploit their weaknesses and highlight their strengths all in the same campaign because you have so many encounters. And I think that's the most
For
fun
sure.
part about it for me. So now I think getting into some of the more other character creation-y kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, So feel free to drop any examples, any ideas that you come to mind. So we're going to start with species.
Okay.
It's usually one of the first things that most people start with when it comes to character creation, although class is usually a big one. But species feels like a nice place to start for us
Hmm.
here, where it's like using the species that already exist in like basic player's handbook. You're looking at, humans, elves, orcs, tieflings, halflings, gnomes, I think Asimar in 2024, Goliath, those kind of things. And then you can get into even more.
Right.
But
All the
it's
sub
just
races
about
and
thinking about like,
subspecies.
yeah, for me, it's just about, well, what do these species have any specific bearing in this setting? So, for example, okay, I'm
Right.
making this setting. There's this famous elven village I'm going to make. So
Hmm.
then that would be something I tie into elven culture or this and that. If a player says, I'm going to play an elf, I would go, well, one thing your character would know is that there's this famous elven village, and we got to
Right.
talk about that. Maybe you're not from there, but you've heard of it at the very
Hmm.
least. And so we're building and we're building and we're building on top of that. Or you could go in the direction, species is an interesting one, but you could go in the direction of like, hey, I don't know, tieflings and Aasimar don't get along because one is connected to the lower planes, one is connected to the upper planes. You could go in those directions and set things up like that. I think it's a risky thing to do and it's a slippery slope because you
Yeah.
could get into some bullshit where like I don't know, it starts to look like fantasy racism pretty quickly.
Right, which we at So You Want to Be a DM are very staunchly against. I don't think that it should exist in our fantasy settings. It's supposed to be
I
an escape.
agree. I agree. I think that if you are a person who has genuinely experienced something like that, like if you're a person of color or an indigenous person, I think if you want that to be in your game and you're handling it with all the care and love that I think you would, in the sense of like it's your lived experience, that's a
Mm,
different conversation. I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that. I, as a white person, don't feel super comfortable trying to be
mm.
really subtle with how the elves are kind of, no, I'm just not.
But you can lean into the other differences between said species, like dwarven art craft and world building in cities looks vastly different from elven,
Mm,
where one is
yeah.
in set in the stone and doing all of this. It's gorgeous in its own right. And then you go into the elvish cities, that's gorgeous in its own right. The human cities, bustling towns and whatever, what
Yes, yes,
have you,
yes.
packed, crammed full of people and all of that stuff. Like that's kind of the tropes that you can lean in without towing those sketchy lines and still
Yeah,
have everybody exist in the same space.
I think the easiest thing to do to avoid that and to like feel really good about making the species feel distinct and everything is to just like, hey, they all the species get along.
Yeah.
No, you're never, if any character, NPC, PC, whatever, doesn't like a person because of their species, that's racism. That's bad.
Yes. Right.
You know what I mean? That's where you
Right.
started
Right.
getting
Right.
into things. But like, yeah, having dwarves have a different architecture style than elves, that's fine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for me, it comes down to things like, okay, we have a tiefling on the group. Maybe in the future I'll plan some stuff where they dip into the lower planes. Maybe they
Hmm.
go into the abyss. Maybe they go into the nine hells, and maybe that helps them a little bit along the way. Um, and vice versa. If we have a party of humans and elves and they find themselves in the nine hells, they might stick out.
Yeah.
And so there's like little things you can play with just in that. Not to mention, it depends on, there's some like multiversal things with D&D where it's like the Feywild has a certain connection to elves, so like there's something you could play with there, but also
Mm.
halflings and gnomes exist. And I just think species is a thing that I have fun with, but I do it in an almost joking way, like the way that in Sphinx City, Little Feywild is like Little Italy.
Hmm.
Like that's just a silly little joke.
Yeah.
Italians can take that. They're fine. And I'm Italian. And like elves are fine. So that connection makes sense and it's fine and it's funny. But you can see how that could be a slippery slope of being like, oh, this fantasy race is kind of like this person. Because as soon as you start getting into like this real group of people based on their identity or their nationality, ethnicity, whatever, are kind of like insert monster type here, and it turns bad quick. So like you want
Yeah.
to avoid
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I stuck to just elves and Little Feywild, Little Italy. That's funny. That's easy. We can do that. No problem. No one's getting hurt over that. Um, and like then taking it one step further and starting to think, I don't do this in my games, but I've seen this is really common in classic D&D, especially like the
Hmm.
settings of like Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk and stuff. They
Right.
have deities that are very specific to certain
Yeah.
species. I personally don't do that, but like that's something you could think of. Maybe there is Meglubiet, the goblin deity or whatever, like all those different things.
Hmm.
That's fun. You could do that. That could be something interesting. Give that player another little thing that's just for them. I like that. That's
Hmm.
okay. Um, and then we get into backgrounds. I like thinking of backgrounds because there's so much you can play with here.
Oh yeah, this is definitely where you can embed a lot of plot hooks into stuff. This is when we're talking about people's backgrounds, we're talking about, oh no, this guy beat me in an arm wrestling championship, and then I got then I went out and got to be the strongest man in the world, and I'm gonna arm wrestle this asshole again at some point, you
Yeah,
know. And then
absolutely.
eventually, the guy you got to give you got to give that player the thing.
Hell
Eventually,
yes. You must. You simply must. And I think it's funny because I think you're thinking backstory when I mean background. Like,
background, like yeah, like criminal.
no,
I
but it
as
is
I was talking,
your
but
point
like
is still good.
right. No, I mean, so all right. So here's what I went with Urchin originally in my mind, right? Because that's
Mhm.
the traditional, like,
Classic arm wrestlers.
classic rogue backstory, the tragic backstory of this person killed my parents and now I'm out for blood. And like
Hmm.
that's directly using Urchin. And then I thought in my mind, that's too basic. We got to come up with something else. We
We
got to
got to
come
come with
up. And
something
then
new.
I completely lost the plot on what we were talking
Well,
about.
that's the interesting part is because just like everything we're going to be talking about, you can lean in to the type or you can
Uh,
lean out. So like if you have an urchin, you can lean into those typical things of like all the alleyways, how the
mm,
sewer system works so that you can get around a little bit better. Maybe you're familiar with the seedy underbelly because you had to depend on them because of X, Y, and Z. You know how the guards work because you were stealing things you were pulling an Aladdin and stealing bread. You
mhm.
know what I mean? Like, so there's all those different things. And then you can go against it where you're fucking Jasmine undercover. You're not actually an urchin. You're a noble pretending to be an urchin. What a beautiful story. So it can go in so many directions.
True.
I just think that, like, when I have players come up with their backgrounds, I always like to figure out how this will play. Because the way you and I at least, often describe backgrounds, like if we're talking to a brand new player, one of the
Mhm.
ways we describe backgrounds often is like, what was your character doing before adventuring?
Right.
But I don't want it to end there. I don't want it to be like, well, I used to be a guild merchant and now I'm adventuring and I don't fuck with guild merchant shit at all. It's like, no,
Right.
you would have that history. You would have that
Yeah.
expertise, that understanding, the knowledge of the industry, so to speak, like
Right.
if
And
you and I
that's
talk to somebody who had put on actual plays, we have a
mm,
lot in common already. It's like bing, bang, boom. We already are forming connections. And that could
right.
also be true for the now, I don't know, warlock who used to be a guild merchant. They would
Right.
have those little like
Yeah.
connections built
And
in, and
that's
that's a fun thing to build on.
we use the Cal soldier background a lot in our campaign.
Mm,
A lot of
yeah.
it wasn't so much at the beginning, but now that we're kind of renowned or what have you,
Mm,
there's a lot of times where Cal is looped in on the strategy sessions because he knows specifically how armies work and how like the
hmm.
logistics side of things as well as the
Yeah.
tactic.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's really fun. Like and it's fun because like your whole party is there at the war
mhm,
room table, but
right.
Cal is the one who talks the most often when it comes to the strategy side of things. Whereas like
Mhm,
somebody like maybe Sunny or Fellis, the other PCs in the game, they might ask different kinds of questions.
mhm.
Like they're not necessarily the ones who are going to be like, well, let's do a pincer attack. It's like, no. Fellis and Sunny are going to be the ones who are like, hey, can we call more allies? Can we just get more people? What information do you, they're big question askers when it comes
Uh-huh.
to NPCs. Like they're the ones who are always like, well, what can you tell us about the bad guys? Do you know of any weaknesses? Justin, is there anything I would have learned in my years of research? I don't make a history check because they're
Right.
playing into their strengths.
Right.
Because Sunny has the background of being a librarian, and she
Mm,
still is a librarian because I've invented a library organization. But like using her skills to get
nice.
that information, I as a DM can feel like at ease knowing I have a character in the group who I can lore dump on, and I
Uh,
can ask for those roles. We always joke that it's like, oh, don't hide it behind a role. If you got a fucking person with expertise or like plus 11 to their, you can
uh-huh.
put it behind a role. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I'm like, yeah, here we go. They're going to crush this. Yeah, make a history check. And it's like 3,700. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. You know everything. You know their
Yeah.
mother's maiden name and their social
The
security
DC
number.
was a 12.
Yeah, right. It's like woof. Um, so background, species, those are huge starting
Yeah.
points. The other thing about background too is like broadly speaking, let's use one of the backgrounds that I'm thinking of, which is entertainer. So entertainer,
Yeah.
how does it look in this setting?
Oh,
Now
yeah.
you can speak very broadly. In Sphinx City, it looks like this, but also there's more. Sphinx City is just one city. Think about we'll use the Forgotten Realms and like Faerun. Faerun, the entire fucking continent. What does it being an entertainer look like? And then you
Hmm.
can be like, but what about Waterdeep? How does an entertainer look versus Neverwinter or versus
Right.
Tribor? Maybe there's a slight difference because of their own specific cultures or whatever. And then you can also build on, well, there's still individuals. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
mean that every entertainer has to follow this rubric. That's crazy.
Right.
But maybe there's trends that you're
Yeah.
used to
I mean,
seeing.
are they more the busking types of entertainers, or do they go into taverns at night and
Yeah.
everybody has these taverns? Or are there huge amphitheaters in towns where they can have
Yes.
these kind of concerts? Like those are all kind of like, what does it mean? What does it look like? What infrastructure would local towns have that support this specific background?
Mm-hmm.
And the same is
Absolutely.
true for your guild merchants, the same is true for your soldiers and all these other backgrounds. The nobles, what does the nobility look like? You
Yeah.
know, nobility is
Yeah.
crazy. And especially, and if you read into like the lore of like Faerun and stuff like that, it varies wildly from city to city.
Yeah. Just the titles of all the fucking
Yes.
leaders is so annoying, honestly,
Yeah.
sometimes. The Water Baron, the Lord Protector, the Open Lord, the Masked Lords. They're like, well, are you freaking kidding me?
Right. Right.
um,
Yeah.
but no, that is so funny. I can't tell you how often I'm just like, it's like the mayor. Right?
Yeah.
You just go, yeah, it's like the governor. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whatever.
Yeah.
But like you can also think of like how common or rare this background slash profession is.
Mhm.
Maybe you get to decide like, hey, you can be an entertainer, but just know that that's actually a really rare profession. No one is an entertainer by trade in this setting because of
Right.
X, Y, and Z. We're in a
Right.
war torn country. It just isn't something that we do a lot. The government is defunding the arts. God, where does that sound familiar? And so let's move on. Let's
So
move
yeah,
on.
yeah, let's move on to the like now we'll get into using the class that
Mm,
these players have picked, because
huge,
this is also very big, and this is where you're going to get your
huge.
most, I would say, other than the background stuff, this is where you're going to get a lot of the really meaty plot hooks at
I
this,
think so. Yeah. There's just so much you can
because
do
it's
with
the level ups
before
are
even getting
so,
into subclass.
yeah,
Just
because like
class, there's so much.
leveling up is so intricately tied to the characters progressing.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, they're getting stronger in this class, and that also comes with, hey, you've got to work for it in
Mm-hmm.
some kind of way. And so like, and it takes so many different shapes. I mean, the way that a cleric would level up or get stronger looks
Mm.
much different than what the bard does, than what the rogue does. You
Yeah,
know, it's
absolutely. Yeah, level ups are a great opportunity to really show some flavor and love to each individual player. And depending on the length of the campaign, you can always switch it up. That's what I like to do. Of like one level up, it is individual. It's person by person. I'm going to talk to the
mhm,
player beforehand. I'm going to say, what does it look like as you gain this ability, these spells, this new thing, this multi-class, whatever it is.
mhm.
And then every once in a while, I also just like to be like, hey, all four of you level up at the same time because of some kind of event. You
Right.
all killed the dragon. Or in the last case, I think when you guys leveled to 14, it was because you guys all got tattoos. And it was like the tattoo had some magical essence
Yeah.
to it. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
a really fun thing. It was like another team building activity, but also this like cool moment. You each got your own individualized tattoos thought of by one of our players, Allie. And so that was just a really fun way of doing it. that felt a little different.
Mhm.
And that's just level ups. I mean, thinking about class. So like, let's just start with like a bard, my favorite.
Sure.
And so
Keeping with the
using
entertainer theme.
using the settings that we have come up with, Taylor and I, across our actual plays, just to show how you would do some of it. Obviously, you can
Mhm.
continue to just go nuts, but like you were saying, a bard in Sphinx City, a busker would be a really good one.
Yeah.
A busker, a theater actor or actress, like doing Broadway, like
Right.
that kind
That's
of
another
show.
huge venue for that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, being a graffiti artist. Like we even invented that subclass
Go check out our
for the
Patreon.
sake of, yeah, checking out on the Patreon. It's available for free. And then some things will cost money, but it helps us a ton. And like that's Sphinx City because it's modern and magical. So this idea of thinking of modern uses of musicians and also other kinds of performers and stuff. You could even do just when you think of Times Square, or at least when I think of Times Square,
Mm,
I cannot separate Times Square from all of those street performers. And some of them are straight up performers, and some of them are just a weird guy in a janky fucking Mickey Mouse costume begging for pictures. And it's terrifying. Have you ever seen
that
those?
sounds all. No, I haven't, but I will say
Dude, it's nuts.
I was pathologically afraid of Chuck E. Cheese as a child.
Really? That's so
Yes.
funny. I love Chuck E. Cheese.
There was I think there's a video there's a video somewhere of me at like my family didn't know or didn't realize at the time. I don't know if it just happened, but
Yeah.
literally it's just me on the ground screaming as Chuck E.
Oh
Cheese up
no.
to try to hug me, and I'm
Oh no.
gone. Head melting off,
That's
screaming.
crazy. There's a video. This is how I relate to that story. There's a video of me as a maybe 3, 4 years old at Disney.
Mm,
You know, Chip and Dale.
hmm
I forget which one it was. I poked him right in the fucking eyes. Now they're plastic because he's a mascot, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
he didn't actually feel it. But the person in the suit went, oh, and like went down. And they're in the footage, you can hear my grandma going, 'cause my family calls me Jesse. It's a long story. But you can hear my grandma in the background going, oh, Jesse, you heard him. Apologize. And then it's just me feeling terrible, instantly feeling terrible, going over. We hug it out. But
yeah.
fuck that chipmunk. Anyway, so that's Sphinx City. But now
Mhm.
if we move over to something like Public Domains, which is a little bit more typical fantasy, granted, obviously it has the shtick of like, oh, they're all public domain characters. But other than that,
Right.
we dance into the artificer world a little bit with Brass City and how there's
Yeah.
technology because of Frankenstein and Sherlock Holmes and like so there's a little bit
Mhm.
of technology. But there a bard would feel a little bit more traditional. It would feel a little bit more, you have your performers, obviously you can do everything from, poetry, telling stories, writing music, writing
Mhm.
sonnets, whatever that may be. But the idea of having a Broadway actor starts to feel possible, but a little on the
Right.
fringe.
But in like that fantasy realm, the kind of like typical bard type role would be somebody who goes from town to town and stays at a tavern and does tell stories or does tricks or does, what
Hmm.
have you for their room and food and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And
Spreading
then,
tales,
right.
sharing information, spreading news sometimes through the art
Mhm.
of song or poetry or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
And then you switch to Small World and you say, what is a bard in Small World? Is it just a teeny tiny bard? And it can be, but we could also sit here and think about it a little bit more. And maybe
Bleed
it's
DJ.
somebody using one of those hit clips.
Mm.
Remember those?
Hmm.
It could be
Hmm.
just a DJ on one of those. And that's his whole shtick. He's like, all right, what's up, man? I'm DJ Lil. Anyway, here we go. Hit clips. 5 seconds of the best 2000 song you've ever heard in your life. Dirty
Ba,
in
ba, ba,
sync.
ba.
Dirty Pop. God, dude. Justin Timberlake has a beatbox section of that song, and it didn't age well. It's cringy as hell. I listened to it recently because Dirty Pop is a great song, but my God. So those are, 3 settings, and we're exploring some of those. You can continue to just build on that. What do bards look like here? What makes them different in this setting? What makes them familiar in this setting? And then you do subclasses, and then it just goes from there, because then you start getting into, okay, what about a spirits bard? One of the 2014 classes that didn't make it to 2024 yet. And honestly, it's a little lackluster, but still thematically so interesting. So spirits bard. Okay, maybe you have psychics, maybe you have mediums, maybe you have this, and you can figure out how much that plays into things. And maybe you come across a town where that's a whole thing, where it's like, yeah, actually every night ghosts wake up, they come home from the graveyard, and they're fucking around, and they're just party animals, dude, because they got no consequences. They can't die. So they're freaking
Oh my
partying.
God,
We need
like
to call an exorcist.
they're like the dude bro unicorns from regular show. Did you ever watch that?
I've watched regular show, not in a minute. It's been a long
Okay.
time.
There's
I
a
didn't watch
there
it consistently. I appreciate the
yeah.
level of humor that show has, though.
Yeah. There's just I think it's a body spray or something that attracts these unicorns out of the ether, and they just run around and go, bro, and just break shit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. They're unicorns.
Yeah, they're unicorns.
Hell yeah. That's sick. That's so funny. So yeah, that would be another example. And we're talking mainly today about character creation, but next time maybe we'll talk about monsters and how we can use them, and we'll talk about bro unicorns next time.
Yeah.
But like thinking about all of these different classes that the players have at their disposal, how they look in your setting, in your world. Some of them are like kind of logistic too. Like, how does warlock packs, how do warlock packs work in this world? Can you break them? What is it like when you break them? What happens? Can you switch patrons? In my home game, I actually have not our home game, but my other home game for Sword Coast Q. I have a player who this was in her backstory already, like at level 1 already. She had decided that she wanted to be somebody who used to have an Archfey patron. The Archfey patron made some crazy deals and essentially killed their loved one. Was like, yeah, let's be partners. You just have to give me the thing you love most. Not knowing that it was going to be their loved one, but yeah, that's what it was. And then they split. So they were like, nope, I don't want to be your patron anymore, or your, warlock or whatever. I don't want to be your warlock anymore. I don't like you. How do I break this? And that's when Asmodeus dipped in and was like, I can help you break it. I know how. All you have to do is form a new pact with me, the Prince of Lies. In our recent game, Asmodeus came into her mind and gave a little vision. You know me, I love doing shit like that. And Asmodeus went, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 3 interesting premonitions. Let's call it 2 truths and a lie. Although that could be the lie. Maybe they're all true. Maybe they're all lies. I won't tell you. Anyway, here we go. And then just gave her 3 visions. Spoilers, they're all true. They're all going to happen.
Oh, boy.
And guess who her former faith patron is? Fellis. Because the way Allie is playing Fellis is that she wants to become so powerful that she becomes her own like warlock patron. Not for herself, but like for others. She wants to be a patron and have people follow her. And so I was like, why not? Let's just do it.
Crazy.
So now Fellis
is
is
Allie
like,
now?
Yeah, I've reached out to her. Yeah, she's an Archfey patron.
Not all going to her head, right?
No, not yet. But we've had interesting discussions about it. It's very, very fun because it's very much like, this is another part of world building too. Is Your players come at you, they say, hey, I want to be a fiend warlock. Okay, what is the fiend? What are fiends like in my world? How much are they truly getting into their warlocks' lives? Are they reaching out to you all the time? Or maybe not so often? Same thing with deities.
Right.
If you have clerics in the group, if you have paladins in the group, if you have any characters who have a deity, what does that look like? What does
Right.
faith look like in these different cultures, towns, for individuals, whatever? And how do the gods work? You know, do they talk to you? Or
Right.
are they hands-on? Are they very hands-on? They're very like, hey, I gave you the tools. Now you do it. Right?
Right.
Back in the day, dude, I was like, I think in my brain, when it came to like real world religions and like science and stuff, I was like, I think the only thing I'm going to really buy from some of these people is like the idea that maybe God was like, he did the Big Bang and then was like, all right, evolution, it's your turn. I think that idea is like kind of, I'm okay with that one.
Right.
God's Big Bang was kind of just like,
All right. I
all
invented
right,
physics. We're done
you
here.
do the rest.
Right.
Um, so like,
Physics done.
can you think of a time, Taylor, when you were world building and you made some interesting choices or big swings when it came to a class? Like how a class works in this setting or something like that, or a subclass perhaps, or
I wouldn't say I necessarily made a big swing with a class specifically. I did try to add a like an extra class mechanic
mm,
of basically they had their normal base classes and then I had them choose between um four kind of like paragon paths almost. Of one of them was a wind runner, one of them was an edge dancer, one of them was whatever, and each one came with their own abilities. Like the light weaver got crazy illusion capabilities, and like their illusion
mm,
magic was boosted, and they were really good at intimidation checks or those kind of checks, stuff like that, as long as they're
I
trying to alter
gotcha.
their
Like a
form.
skill tree kind of where you can
Kind
like
of
further customize sort of.
kind of only it was like once you pick this, you're on that path.
Right.
Yeah. And then so like the Windrunner got access to flight, got access to a bunch of movement stuff, also got access to some other weird gravity altering tech.
Sick.
Um, yeah, and it made my game. I will say it made my world very hard to write for, and that is a large part of why my campaign fell apart. Was because I tried to
Mm,
do too much.
Try to do too much. Interesting. Do you think that there's a way you could have done it that could have worked, like in hindsight?
Now, yeah. Then, I mean, I was a little,
You just don't think you had the tools.
yeah, I was just a little baby DM back then.
I get it,
I
man.
was a
It's
baby
easy to
DM
keep
with
adding stuff.
big plans, and
I know. Yep, I've been there. I've definitely been there before. It is hard. And I think that's why so much of this is why we say that character creation should be collaborative. You should
Mhm.
be with your players when they're making their characters. It like don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's just a time thing where it's like, hey,
Yeah,
listen, we don't have time to do
actual
a
plays
5 hour
in 2 weeks.
character
If
creation.
you guys make it, we're gonna sit down and talk about
Well, if it's an actual play, that's a little different. You should put the
it.
time in. But for home game stuff, it's like, okay, make your character sheets on your own and everybody just joins together and whatever.
Right.
But like, man, there's something to be said about when you have your setting, your world, your idea as the DM, and you intentionally leave little blanks here and there so that the
Mm-hmm.
players can fill them in with their own backstories and classes and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, NPCs that they might know. And so it's just like, speaking of which, getting into the next and kind of final thing that we're going to be really talking about a ton here is backstory.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
We've kind of been
I'm
touching
trying to
on it
think.
loosely a lot this whole time.
This entire time we've been
Yeah.
talking about it, but like for me, the things that come to mind personally, the biggest thing is like NPCs.
Yeah.
Oh, and also sometimes locations, but locations work so hand in hand where it's like I'm not necessarily often inventing entire locations because a player has it in their backstory. It's more likely that I'm
Right.
like, hey, in your backstory, it says, I don't know, New York City. Let's switch that to Sphinx City because that makes more sense in
Right.
the setting. And I already have Sphinx City already figured out and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll happen sometimes with locations, but it's a nice thing to be able to talk to that player and be like, hey, your hometown or your character's hometown, what is it like?
Mm-hmm.
Let's work together. As opposed to me just steamrolling the whole creative process.
Right. Right.
Let's work together. What do you think your town is known for? Does your town
Right.
have a mayor, governor, leader? Is it a council? Is it a
Burgermeister.
democracy? Is there a burgermeister? Dude, I remember playing with freaking No Big Bed guy, and he would say he fucked that word up so many times. And I'm not one to really get down on pronunciation because there's so many different ways to pronounce words, and I'm trying not to be elitist about the whole thing because it's steeped in some issues. But like, dude, it's Burgermeister, man. It's in one of the Christmas claymation
Right.
movies. They have a Burgermeister, and you're gonna sit here and call it Burgermaster over and over again. Pissing me off. That No Big Bed motherfucker. Anyway, so yeah, NPCs is a big one for me. That's what I love to do because I go at it two different ways.
Mhm.
Either there are times where the player is coming up with the NPC first and then giving it to me, and then I decide some other things about how they're connected to the world. So for example, you come up with a character and you say, I have parents and a sister.
Right.
Those are NPCs you've invented. Now I have to make them fit in the world and what's their place? What's their role in the story? How much are we willing to play with their fate? Depending on boundaries and X, Y, and Z, you know. But then there's other times where it's like, so for example, like Mythos. Mythos was me saying, here's 5 NPCs. Pick 2 that you think your character would like or be friends with or whatever.
Yeah.
Boom, cool. You got those 2. Now, when I give that list to the next person, I'll like remove one. One's still there so that there's some overlap. But now there's another one that you can choose from. And it's like that way. And we're still building on things. So it's still very much like when I reached out to everybody and said, hey, what's your character's relationship with Achilles? I did give them a couple bullet points of what he's like.
Right.
But then the rest of it is like, they're just bullet points. He's not like a fully fleshed out character. He's just bullet points based on what everyone's answers are going to be to that question. Had everybody said,
reduction
we're just
of
friends.
personality.
Yeah. Big time.
Bro, you're just bullet points, man.
You're just bullet points, dog. Bullet points, dude. You're freaking nothing, dude. No substance to you. You're just bullet points, dude. Fucking spark notes of a person, dude. Brutal. But yeah, it was like, had everybody responded with what relationship do you have with Achilles? Let's say hypothetically, everybody just said, we're just friends. That changes who Achilles is. I'm not going to make him be this like cheating asshole who like hits up multiple women all in the same night. Now he's a chill hang and he's a good buddy. But like, I had to switch it up a little bit. But then also in that same light, because all of the people were like, oh, we dated once, we're an ex, he's my crush, I was like, I see the writing on the wall, I see the drama. I'm like, perfect. Let's stir this pot. And then I reach out to Daniel and I say, what is your character's relationship like with Achilles? And he was like, he's a mentor. And I was like, okay, so Achilles does have a good side. There's a scene in there where Achilles says, like in the first episode when Achilles is around, he says something nice to Kairos. I can't remember really specifically what it is, but he says something. He's like, man, I like this kid. He says something like I think he was like helping him out in the sword fighting class or something. There was some kind of thing there where Achilles was like, which kind of plays into him being a dick because he's only being a dick to the femme presenting characters. He's being really cool to the boys. Kind of plays exactly into him being a dickhead, jock, sort of frat boy kind of character. But that was what it all plays into so many things. The setting influences things, character creation influences things. They all play with each other. It's never one-way street. It's always this like absolutely fucked intersection where like accidents are happening because there's no stop signs.
Actively,
It's all yield, no stop. It's all yield, no stop. Absolute riot. And so yeah, NPCs are where I have the most fun building from the players' character creation. And it's such a good place to come up with encounters. It's such a good place to come up with improv ideas. Like, talk about having a list of bullet points. Man, having a list of bullet points that just remind you of little things about the players' characters' backstories and their connections and NPCs they would know. It's so helpful to connect players to different settings. So to be like, okay, you guys are in Waterdeep now. Luckily, one of you is from Waterdeep, so you have a place to stay for the night. You already know some NPCs you can get information from. Like, that is already so fucking helpful.
Right.
If they didn't have that, maybe there's at least an NPC they're familiar with. Maybe there's an NPC who can give them that information. For me, it was like, I wrote an entire session's worth of encounters, giving each player out of 4 players, I gave each of them an individual encounter that could happen with the group, but like it was meant for that player.
Right.
And it was based on all of their families and backstories. And it was NPCs that they know. So the warlock got the Asmodeus thing, got the vision, 3 visions where I went into detail. It was very cryptic. There's mention of a golden boy is going to deliver bad news. And it's because at the start of chapter 7, you'll recall this. I don't think they listen to the pod, so hopefully, if hey, listen, Chanks, if you guys are listening to the pod, skip the next 5 minutes. Anyway, the Chanks, they're lovely. I fucking love them. They're the best. So there's at the beginning of chapter 7. Remember the whole thing that happens with Gallowcast? Where like he goes to confront Dragonsbane and then he gets like they're like, oh, we're gonna hang him.
Yeah.
The person who delivers that news is a golden retriever humanoid. And it's just a boy. So it's a golden boy delivering bad news, and he's literally a newspaper salesman. So he's the little boy who goes, extra,
okay.
Gallowcast set to be hung. Oh shit, it says we're supposed to be hanged. Sorry, that's a typo. Sorry. And that's him. And so that was a dumb little vision. And then another one, it was like their sister used to be a gladiator. So I reached out to the players where I only had a bullet point. You have a sister who's a gladiator. And I was like, wait, that's not enough. Hey, your character's sister, are you guys close? When's the last time you guys saw each other? The gladiator thing, is that why you're a barbarian? Like, you guys used to fight, or what's the deal? And then she gave me some information, and I said, okay, cool. Here's how I play with that. Another character was like, yeah, I have 5 brothers and this and that. And I was like, is it possible that any of your siblings, or which sibling is the most likely to quote unquote get in trouble?
All right.
They said Nimblequill. And I said, perfect. Nimblequill is just going to randomly. It was so funny, dude. I fucking love Nimblequill. First of all, the name is hilarious. Secondly, the encounter was actually so fun to just have Nimblequill come out of nowhere and be like, brother, is that you? Thank God. Do you have 3,000 gold? It's a long story. So I told the university, the wizard school, that I could definitely afford this tuition. And then I already took all the classes, and now I can't afford it. And I can't afford it at all. And I took out some money. I paid, the school's good. I paid off the money, but I did have to take out that money from a dangerous person who now says he'll break my kneecaps. So you have 3,000 gold, right? Otherwise, can we get it? Can we find a way? Can we steal it? I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. By the way, my name's Nimblequill. Nice to meet you. And it was just so fun. And so now they have to figure that out. And it's just like adding all these different things to the stories has been so enriching, and just like makes it so fun. I just think if you're not using the characters that the players are playing to
Right.
inform both the setting, the encounters, the plot, everything, I think you're missing out. I don't think
I do
it's not
too.
impossible to still have a good game and have the
Right.
players be like inserts. Like it's fine, right? We've all played video games where that literally happens. Where yeah, I sit in Baldur's Gate and I do character creation and I get interesting voice lines, I guess, because I have this background. That's
Right.
it though. I'm still fighting the
Yeah.
fucking goblins. I'm still going and kicking the drow spider guy's ass. Like
Right.
it's still happening. I never fight the owl bear. Not after the first playthrough. You're
Oh,
gonna
is that the one?
separate that beautiful
The
owl bear mother from her cub? I don't think so. Not for all the loot in the world, Taylor. I did it the first time on accident because we started the fight and I didn't know what to do. Never again. I see the cave and I go, nope, avoid. I can't do
That's
it.
funny.
Just like I
Yeah.
can't do the Dark Urge playthrough.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
I'm too
I
much of a
can
nice
never
person.
I can never do like evil playthroughs just because like I feel bad. Like
I know
my power fantasy is not making other people feel bad. My power fantasy is helping all my friends. Like,
exactly, right? Is
you
being
know,
able to help all my friends
right,
single-handedly with
right.
a single six
Exactly.
seconds.
Exactly.
No, it's so true. I think all of this information is so good for building encounters, for building the world. It's also really good for improv.
Hmm.
Anytime that you need to like quickly be like, oh shit, okay, what do we do next? How do I respond to this? That those are pools of information that you can draw from.
Right.
Okay, shit, we need to figure out something. All right, I need to tell the player some information. Oh, I know that this character's good at intelligence checks. Hey, make a history check. You can even hide it by being like, everybody make a history check. This is a great opportunity to use passive perception. If you
Oh
have
yeah.
one player in the group who's really good at passive perception, then you can sometimes, I don't think you should do this all the time. They did that in Critical Role and it genuinely was like, cool. So one player can just always see everything that's happening. None of the other players even get a chance to roll. It got
Right.
annoying. But every once in a while, you can use something like a passive perception in order to push the story forward instead of having to ask for a perception roll. You can just be
Right.
like, hey, Kaladin, you would actually see this based on your passive perception. You would actually notice that coming up the road is X, Y, and Z. And so
Right.
it's like using their skills, using the things that their characters are good at, mechanically speaking, but also backstory, how they're connected to
Mhm.
the world, so many different things. Um,
Because so like you can get a lot out of an adventure module as a person who has done lots and lots of adventure modules of, just buying preset stuff. You can get a lot out of those, but I think it was a conversation that you and I were having probably off camera maybe, but you have to kind of like put into the game what you want to get out of the game. If
mm,
you just sit there on the piece of paper, it's going to be flat. You know, if you
hmm
you got to draw from everybody at the table to really make it a full thing. Like the adventure modules are there to give you an adventure to run inside of the campaign. With obvious exceptions for stuff that's written to be singular one shot stuff like that. But like a lot of like the Adventurers Guild stuff, a lot of the content that Justin has on DM's Guild, um, it's all meant to be a campaign that on top of the stuff that's actually on the paper, your players are also getting input and getting their own kind of side quests and their own kind of stuff thrown in there as well.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. It's a really nice way. It just helps you down the line. The more you incorporate the players into the creation of the world and everything, and vice versa, of you being involved into the creation of the characters, the more they complement one another and it feels like it fits.
Hmm.
And in that case, you're building immersion, you're building a good time where the players are feeling invested, but so their characters are also feeling invested. But it also just gives you so much ammo. It has a negative connotation to it. But you could do good things too with this particular ammo. A bunch of love bullets you can fire at those motherfuckers. But like,
Yeah.
there's like, for example,
Helldiver's
like
med syringe.
I can't tell you how many times that where you're like, okay, how am I going to progress the story forward? Like, what's the next thing that they can do? Or
Mm.
when I did this, my going back to my example with my home game and how I gave each one their own little encounter based on their like NPCs and their backstories,
Mm.
they already had main plot thing going on, but they were
Right.
almost hitting the main plot in a way that felt unrealistic by how fast it was because they had traveled to Waterdeep. So they, took rests along the way between Triboar and Waterdeep. It's a multi-day travel. But on the day that they woke up on the road, made it to Waterdeep, they were already like, they went to the map shop, they got a map of the place. They went to a bunch of places where they were able to get some information on this evil thieves guild called Les Coquillards. Um, and and they had already found out where they were, where they're located, who runs them, what they need to look out for, all of this information, and then all in the same like in-world day. It was like, damn, you guys just got to level 6. You guys are gonna turn to level 7 immediately, like so fast. So I was
Right.
like, oh, I actually need to give them some other shit to do. Because it just feels like they're speed running this game. And I was like,
Right.
let's slow things down a little bit. I want you guys, and it was my way of not just logistically slowing things down because that's
Mhm.
part of it literally is me as a dungeon master pacing the game and being like, whoa, you guys are actually doing this adventure a little too fast. And if that was genuinely what they wanted to do, they could have. All of the quests that I'm giving them, the side quests, little backstories, Nimble Quill coming in, those are back burner things. You don't have to
Right.
do them immediately.
Right.
You're trying to raise 3,000 gold for Nimble Quill's purposes, or you have the sister's gladiator, one character's gladiator sister is coming into town because there's a royal tournament coming up. Not only is that a chance for that PC to meet with an NPC who they invented and they are close with.
Mhm.
So we get to see that outside of the normal party dynamics. We get to see how they act with their sister. How is that going to be different? But also the Royal Tournament, it gives the other players a chance to initiate some like arm wrestling competition. It's not going to be an arm wrestling competition. There's going to be a pie eating competition though, because when they entered Waterdeep, they all thought they were so funny coming up with little nicknames. So it wasn't just, hey, I'm Nomfoodle. It was, hey, I'm Nomfoodle, the pie destroyer. And so randomly, there's a scene that happened later on where a guard was like, he got so scared too. The guard went, hey, you, wait a minute. Don't I know you? Yeah, I know you. Now, mind you, they escaped the prison of Gamog. They're fugitives, technically. But because it's olden times, granted magic exists, I imagine the towns don't talk with each other that much where they're like,
Yeah.
hey, put out the bolo to all nearby to the Tri-County
Right.
area.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's fine. And so the guard is like, don't I know you? I've seen you somewhere, haven't I? I've heard of you. And he's like, no, you definitely have never. He goes, yeah, I know you. You're the pie destroyer. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, I can't wait to see you this weekend, dude. I'm putting it all on you. You better not let me down. And so now it's setting it up like you have to compete now.
Right.
Guards are looking for you. They know you're the pie destroyer because that's the name you registered in on. And it all built.
Uh-huh.
And it also gives them a chance to meet powerful people because it's a royal tournament. So it gives
Mhm.
them an early opportunity to meet some of the powerful NPCs that they'll become closer to later on. It's their first chance of maybe getting a chance to meet with the Open Lord because they're still at that part of the campaign where they're building the case against Dragonsbane. So it's like
Mhm.
still slow going. But it's just like, and all of that came from her saying that her sister was a gladiator. One of the players said, my sister's a gladiator. And
Right.
that's kind of all I had from the get go, because these were brand new
Right.
players. They're not giving me 5 pages, they're giving me 1 page of bullet points. But then it's on me to be like, okay, I'm preparing for the next session. And I reach out to them through Discord. I have private little channels in the chat for all of them. I say, hey, tell me more about Pixie and her sister. What's their relationship like? What's the sister's name, first of all? What kind of gladiator is she? What does she fight with? And I let her decide those things. Now I can decide those things, but it's her character's sister. Let her come up with those things. Because who cares what fucking weapon the gladiator uses? Whatever she says is going to be awesome, and I'm going to run with it. It was the same when I'm role playing other people's NPCs that are connected to their characters. Like when I'm playing Kaladin's dad, I like, at least for the first couple times, I like to ask you, what is he like? As opposed to me just decide. Like let's collaborate on that, because it's, you know what I mean? It's your character's dad. Like I don't have that much skin in the game really when it comes to how this character acts, So there's just so much that you can get from the players and their characters during character creation, but also throughout the campaign, building on that it's like they're doing the writing for you half the time, or some of it, I just think there's so much there. The audacity of people to ask ChatGPT for things.
It's truly,
the absolute audacity.
Truly audacious.
The absolute audacity. And not to mention, recently on TikTok, I've been posting a bunch of videos of me mentioning the most obscure movies I can think of and being like, you're going to ask ChatGPT when this movie exists? And it's just like the most talking random about movie.
We're Back from 1994.
Or Jet Li's The One. Wait till you see the one I'm doing tomorrow. Oh, boy. Actually, by the time the people listen to this, that will have already come out, so I can tell you.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the movie? This is insane. I think it came out in 1970s. It's a Disney movie, live action, but there's a little bit of animation thrown in.
Okay.
It's called Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Nope.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks came out in 1979, starring Angela Lansbury. It is musical, it is fantasy, it is both live action and animated. When they go under the sea and they sing a little song, the fish are cartoons. And they did that. And it's beautiful and amazing, and it's such a fucking awesome movie. They use magic to fight the Nazis. It's insane. It's nuts, bro. Not to mention, it has one of the funniest sports-related comedy things I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. I think about it all the time. They have to get this magical, this is the last thing we'll say, and this is the end of the episode. They have to go to this crazy island to get this magical necklace, or rather the other half of it, because of course it's in halves.
Right.
Typical adventure trope. So they have to get this other half of the necklace, right? And they notice in this children's book, the lion who's wearing a crown, the Lion King, is wearing the necklace. And they're like, what the fuck? There it is. That's the necklace we're looking for. But it's a cartoon. And they're like, what? And then some random dude is like, you can go there. I can show you how to go there. And he's like, they're like, what are you talking about? It's a cartoon place. What do you mean? He's like, you can go there. It's a real place. It's called Animal Island. It's not what it's called. I forget what the actual name is, but it's called Animal Island. And so they get on their bed. They get on their bed because there's a giant bed frame, and the bed knob, picture like the old school brass frame of a bed, and it has like a knob. They fucking travel teleportation style with a bed knob. Twist it, tap it 3 times, the whole fucking bed travels through space and time to these different areas. It's amazing. When they get there, everything is cartoons except for them and some of the environment, but like mostly. And they talk to the king and they're like, listen, we need this necklace, blah, blah, blah. And the king's like, I'm not giving you. This is my necklace. It's been in my family my whole life. You're not having it. It's the king's necklace. There's no way. And then he says something to the effect, there's like one of the male characters is like, do you fancy a wager or a game? And so, long story short, they play soccer. They play soccer against each other. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. They're cartoons, and they're playing soccer against each other. Now, the male main lead, does he play soccer? No, he is the ref. Does he get absolutely fucked? Yes. It is insane because they stampede. So it's just all of these funny animal things of like, one of the goalies is a gorilla and he's like climbing on, he hangs off the top bar. He's like punching the ball. He's like really intense.
Yeah.
There's a rhino who like the ball hits his like horn and he just runs with the ball stuck to his nose. And then there's every time the man gets trampled over, the camera looks at him. He's like literally flat like a cartoon. And you see these two vultures who are the medics. And they grab that little gurney thing and they start like, they get so excited. They're like, he needs us. And they get their gurney and their med kits and they start going over. And then the lion guy picks up the human, brushes him off, looks at the vultures and goes, he doesn't need you. He's fine. He's going to keep going. And the vultures are like, what? Fuck. And they leave. And that happens like 5 times where the vultures keep getting so excited. And the lion's like, he's fine. He doesn't need you. He's got like a bloody nose. He looks like shit. Anyway, they steal the necklace. It's a fucking amazing movie. You gotta watch it, man. It kills. It kills. They fight in the movie not actual Nazis, people portraying Nazis, but like,
right.
You know what I mean? With magic. It's nuts. I need to go have a cigarette, dude. I'm just kidding. No. Oh, that movie it fills me with so much nostalgia. It's genuinely an amazing movie. Good soundtrack, lots of fun. Highly recommend. And so the point is this, gang, the characters are what makes the story. Mm-hmm. So why not use them when telling the story? That just makes sense.
It does.
Also, this has been brought to you by Big Milk. Thank you, Big Milk.
That's all we can get into this time.
Love
you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, our Twitch, our merch, and all of that jazz down with the link in the description. And join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
Sir.
And now, I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Numuffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? And then there's Elijah, Molly, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Want to Be a DM.